Hey, testing 1, 2. So, I'm wondering if this is working. I've been all day trying to set up a live stream here with OMS and YouTube and my audio interfaces so that you guys can actually hear what's coming out of my main audio interface. I thought I could do this directly, but I had to set up an additional audio interface and set that up as the input into the live stream, and then use the output of my main interface, which is the Focusrite Claret 8 pre USB. Send an alternative pair of outputs into the Steinberg UR44, which I'm using for the live stream. So I don't know. Maybe hopefully it's working. I guess I could probably go to my channel on YouTube and see, right? If I'm streaming. If anybody logs in, please say hi. I'm gonna try to have the comments here available. Yeah, looks like I'm live now. And here it is. Here's the chat. Cool. I don't think anybody is watching yet. But okay, I'm gonna see if I can lay out these windows in a way that makes sense. So I'm wondering if this is working. It's quite a delay. Let's turn the volume down on my feedback here. There we go. We'll leave that like that. And now I'm going to open up my Reaper session to cover up this window because that's driving me insane. Okay. We don't need... Alright, what are we going to call this? I'm going to save it in my work drive. We're going to call it live... let's just call it composition September. What day is today? Is the 23rd. Composition September 23rd, and I'll name the track appropriately once it takes shape and I'm inspired. Why don't I make a new folder here for September 2019 batch. I'm gonna try to write between this month and next month, write a whole batch of 10 songs that I can pitch to YouTube Audio Library, and if they're not interested, I can try pitching to other audio libraries, and if nobody's interested, I can start my own audio library. I already have 110 songs in the YouTube Audio Library, but I know they're getting more composers, so they might want more variety in the composer pool. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure if I make some really killer tracks, they won't resist me and they'll want to buy it. So here's hoping. So let's save that. Okay. And I don't need the video window. And I'm also going to open up a little space here so that I can see the preview and the chat so that I can communicate with you people. All right. And this is the actual live stream page where I could set things up. Okay, I think this will do for now. You know what? I'm sorry, I should have thought of this before I started the stream, but I'm gonna go get a glass of water really quick because I can tell I'm gonna get dry mouth pretty soon. Okay, I'm back, and I wonder if I can get some feedback of myself. You can probably do that by using QuickTime Player, setting up a new movie recording like that, and then just keeping that on the corner up here instead of the YouTube thing. That way I have an immediate feedback, more immediate feedback of what I look like on my webcam. Okay, so I tried to set up some kind of extra camera. I really want to be able to show my equipment. I have some nice Eurorack right in front of me here underneath my interface. I have some Eurorack to my right, a lot of it. I have guitars, I have a drum set, I have an electric piano, I have the instruments. I have a lot of interesting instruments that I might use for the composition that I would love for you all to be able to see. But it seems I need to buy an expensive app to be able to use my phone, or I need to buy some mini HDMI cables for my GoPro or for my Sony camera to be able to use it as a webcam. So I might just buy a USB webcam at some point. But anyway, I figured I wouldn't wait until I have all of these things before I actually try the live stream. I want to make today a useful and fruitful day, right? So the first thing that I do when I'm about to compose a song is usually I try to think of a particular direction. Sometimes that direction is given to me by the client. So, for example, if I have a commission from YouTube, which I don't right now, they might ask for something specific, like, "Oh, we need some kids tunes, or we need some dubstep, or we need some heavy metal, or we need some Latin music, or we need some world music, or we need some funk," all of which I've already written and done for them in the past. The last batch I did was cinematic, and all of these labels are very broad and they don't really give me much more indication than that, which is great because it gives me a lot of freedom, but it also requires from me to establish my own direction. Sometimes it's easier to work when you have a very specific briefing, like either a reference track that they really like, and that gives you a lot of parameters right out of the gate, right? So if I'm doing a sound-alike, I'll probably map out the original song to analyze it. I'll probably use that map, meaning the tempo and the song structure, to write my sound-alike, because there's no way to copyright that, and that's a good way to start and save some time. You don't have to worry about creating a form. You can just use a form that exists. And that's not even unusual in classical music. For example, you have some forms that are everybody uses, like sonata form or concerto form or or I don't even know the names that much. I'm not much of a classical guy, but I know that when you study analysis, you focus on particular forms, and they're pretty strict form structures that people use to compose. It's sort of like a limerick, right? You have blanks that you're supposed to fill out with certain kinds of movements, and you fill them out with your own creativity, so it's never going to sound the same. So I like to do that a lot of times to save time. Sorry, yeah, I was definitely thirsty. And this time I don't have anything like that, so I have to either look for my own reference to inspire me. So maybe listen to things, and if something really sounds really cool to me, I can take an idea from it and start from there. Maybe I'll just take a beat and create a similar beat to something else, and then forget everything else and create on top of that. Because once you get going, then your own creativity can sort of start rolling, right? I usually say that in improvisation and in composition, if you pay attention, each note asks for the next. It's not a matter of you deciding what to do. It's a matter of you being open to what the song itself is asking for. That's kind of a poetic way to think of it, but it does seem to work that way for me a lot of the time. Once I'll do a beat that will inspire a bass line, when I have the beat and the bass line, that will inspire some kind of harmonic accompaniment or maybe a melody, and so on and so forth. So I don't know. I don't even know which style I'm gonna write today, but I do know I have some equipment that I'd like to test. For example, I just built a Befaco instrument interface module for my Eurorack. and that means I can use my guitar or my bass as input devices for the modular, and I can process their raw sound as well as trigger some processes. So maybe what I'll do is set up just a metronome, plug in my bass, come up with a cool sound, and come up with maybe a riff, and that riff will inspire the rest of the composition. So that's one way to kickstart it. Now, really quickly, why don't I share this on Facebook so that more people will join me? Okay. Live streaming today's composition. And I'll paste the link right there. Post it. Did it post? There you go. It says uploading. I guess my internet's kind of slow because of the. There you go. Let's go back. Let's actually go back to that QuickTime player so I can see myself without a delay or without too much delay. Okay. So why don't I pick up my bass? So I have a couple of different basses. I have my electric upright bass by Ned Steinberg design, which I really like, and I also have a GNL L2000, which is really nice too, but it's currently without any strings. I think I wanted to put some flat wounds on it. Never got around to it. And I also have my baby, which is this beauty over here. It's my Fender Precision, Mexican made, nothing fancy, but it does have a pickguard that was painted by my 5-year-old daughter. She was still 4 when she did it. I actually bought a tortoise shell pickguard and put it on and removed the white shell that came, and my daughter just thought it would be fun to paint it, and when she was done I put it back on because it looked much better than the tortoise shell. So okay, anyway, I have a tuner right here. It's always a good idea if you're gonna make let's say what I call conventional music, which means music that has tuning, melody, harmony, specific rhythm, and that can be sort of classified and categorized into a style, then make sure you use a metronome and a tuner, right? Maybe a metronome isn't always necessary. I do like to compose metronome free a lot of the time so that I can have tempo fluctuations, which are natural and have been left behind a lot of the time because people find it too convenient to work with a metronome. With grid, right, it makes it really easy to copy and paste sections all over the song. But yeah, I do like, especially if I'm doing something more cinematic, something that has movements and has changes, I like to my friend Paulina is telling me that the screen is freezing a bit. I think I definitely have less than ideal internet connection, so I hope you hang with me, and I hope that this doesn't this gets better. Okay, so let's start by tuning the bass. If I wanted to do something very experimental, I might not tune the bass or tune it to something weird, but I'm just going to use my regular Korg tuner right here and tune it to A440 in the standard bass tuning. Oh, it looks like it's held its tuning pretty well over the last couple of months since I last used it, because I didn't even use this bass at all for my cinematic tracks. I either used the electric upright or some sort of symphonic sample or synth patch. So anyway, now I'm gonna plug it in, and you can't see this yet because I don't have my webcam that I'm gonna be using to move around and show the equipment. But I have a Befaco instrument interface module, and there's a high Z option, which is high impedance, which is what you want for an instrument like this, especially a passive bass. Right, that works. So now I need another cable. Although, first let's create a patch. My modular is going back into my interface via a Befaco output module. So what I can do just to test and see if things are working is plug the output of my input straight into the output module there, and we'll set up. Oh, already I can hear it. It's quiet enough as far as bass preamps go. Now I have a graphic EQ right here, which can be fun to use. So let's plug the output of my graphic EQ into the output here. That's distorting a bit. Let's turn down the input. Oh, that still distorts. That's not so good. Let's try line level input maybe. That's a little better. Maybe it was distorting. Maybe it was distorting in my input. So let's try high Z again. No, it's definitely distorting in the input. So that high impedance input looks like it's for really soft sources. Okay, now my Befaco output module is plugged into inputs 3 and 4 here on my interface. So I can turn those up a little bit. And if somebody's watching, please let me know if, oh, actually, no, not 3 and 4. That was my mistake. 3 is actually the microphone, and I need to keep it at a level where it won't feed back, because I haven't figured out a way to get you guys my voice without it also going through my speakers, because I can only get a stereo input into the live stream. I'll figure these things out as I go with future live streams. They'll get better, I promise, as I learn the technical aspects of it. But anyway, 5 and 6 are actually the inputs from my Befaco. There you go. It looks like I'm feeling a bit of a old school funk vibe. Might go that direction. Now let's compare this sound, which is the EQ'd sound, with just the straight up. I definitely like the EQ. It hollowed it out a bit and made it more pleasant. So that's nice. Now I can do other things to this sound too. I have a distortion, I have a phaser, I have a flanger, but it's not here, it's in another case, but whatever, I can send a long cable and get it back. I have a spring reverb, so there's lots I can do to this bass sound. I have a resonator, that could be cool. Let's plug in the resonator. So take an output here, plug the instrument. So the resonator is based on the Korg P30 1300. I don't remember what the classic synth was, but it's basically 4 bands of resonant Vactrol based bandpass filters, so you can sort of really tune in a certain kind of sound. That's interesting. And also the instrument interface is generating an envelope, right? And I can use that envelope to modulate. There you go, the resonator. And that's the principle behind an envelope filter, right? So as I play, that the amplitude of my instrument is triggering an envelope, and that I'm using to modulate the resonator frequencies, all 4 of them simultaneously. And I like that, but I don't like it. I think I need it to be in parallel to the cleaner sound that I got with the graphic EQ. So what I'll do is I'm going to plug in a mixer that I have right here, and I'm going to mix both those signals. So let's take the I also need to split, so I'm going to use my knuckle bone here, and I'm going to split the output from my instrument interface. So can the camera see it? Kind of, like, and I'm going to take from the split, I'm going to take 2 cables, 2 short ones. Let's not waste long cables on this right now. I may need them later. And I'm going to send that same audio to both my Resonate module and the Graphic EQ module. And then I'm going to take the output of both modules into my mixer module right here. And now I can... So this is the clean sound, and I've mixed in. Oh, now that's pretty funky. Pretty funky there. Cool beans. So I think that's enough fiddling with the sound of the bass for now. You know, it's part of being a practical composer, to not get too bogged down with coming up with sounds and stuff, because then you don't move forward and you don't get something done. So damn, I'm really thirsty. I think I need to go for another glass of water, so sorry. I'll be very quick. I'm back. Thanks for waiting. If anybody is watching, please say something in the chat. Say hi, Kinkas, or whatnot. I can't really tell if anybody is watching at all. Should be seeing some kind of no, I don't see if anybody is here. It'd be nice to know if I'm all alone, or if I actually have company. So anyway, in Reaper, you can just double click on this track panel over here, and it'll open up a track. And you don't have to decide beforehand if the track you're opening is going to be for audio or whatever. So I'm going to use the way you route things is what determines if the track's going to be a MIDI track, an auxiliary track, an audio track, etc. This is going to be an audio track because I'm recording audio on it. I'm recording bass. And my input will be, well, the modulator is going in stereo, but I know this is actually a mono sound that's just going to be sent equally to left and right, so there's no need to record it in stereo. I'm going to take input 5 right here, right, and the decay a little longer. The sensitivity a little more sensitive, and envelope level. There you go. Yes. You know what would be cool if I maybe used a phaser on only the envelope filter sound. I know I said I wasn't going to spend a million years on the timbre, but this is pretty quick, and it might be a good idea. So let me just turn down the clean sound for now. That looks pretty cool. Sounds pretty cool, I mean. But I don't know if it's an improvement exactly. Yeah, I like that. Let's just leave it like that. And bring the clean sound back in for the woomph and the punch. Oops, sorry, I slapped. That's been illegal since the late 90s. Right, so let's think of a tempo. And another thing, I don't like to record to a metronome. I think it's one of the most uninspiring things in the world to record to a metronome. So maybe I'll open up another track here, and I'll choose a MIDI input. By choosing a MIDI input, oh, it looks like I never turned on my keyboard, but I can use the Linstrument as an input device, MIDI input device. I don't really like the Linstrument as a drum programmer too much. I need to set it up to send MIDI via USB. There you go. Yeah, I don't love using it for drum pads, but it's what's immediately available right now, so we will use it. And I'll probably won't use these drums because I don't really like MIDI drums that much. I'll probably either program something with a modular or record acoustic percussion, including a drum set, which I have in the closet in the back. And but this is just to inspire the bass line right now. Call it a fancy metronome. So let me unrecord, click off the bass recording, and we're gonna set this to monitor, and I'm going to load up some kind of drum machine. I think I'll go for the Spark LE, I think it's called, which actually looks like Sparkle, right? In all plugins here. It's not showing up. Let's just call up the Arturia plugins. And I do have the Spark drum machine. Yeah, here it is. It's just Spark, not Spark LE. I guess Spark LE is the machine that you use, or maybe it's the iOS app. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna load up Spark, and hopefully I can quickly record some kind of rhythmic beat. It's looking for the Spark controller. I don't have. There we go. But it did pick up. It did pick up on the instrument. So, wow, that's super loud. Let's turn that down a little bit. Right here. That was too much. Not super crazy about this preset. Where are the presets? Is it in library here? Yeah. So 80s, no. Thanks. Ace clone. Let's turn down the octave a couple times. Or up. Yes, I'm starting on this C right here. This is the Linstrument, by the way. It's the controller I'm using. It's by Roger Linn, and it's really a wonderful controller. It's super expressive for playing like cellos, synthesizers, clarinets, and things like that. And you'll see. But it's right now it's the only one I have on, so I'm gonna use it for drums too. Like, what's Acid BD? That sounds exactly like. Oh, that's instrument. Right, so let's choose kit actually. Berlin Electro. That didn't load. I have to, yeah, I have to double click on it. That's kind of cool. So yeah, maybe if I like what I do, it'll even stay as a layer. What's CL78? I think that's a classic old Roland machine. Yeah, I can do like some cheesy sort of 60s little sounds there. Here's a Brazilian kit. I wonder what the Brazilian kit sounds like. I'm actually Brazilian myself. So. It looks like I have velocity turned off on my controller. Do I? Bend range, pitch, timbre, loudness, control. Velocity is probably down here. Yeah, velocity is on fixed right now. Let's put it on high sensitivity. And I think that may be too sensitive. Let's put it on medium. Nice pandero. 3 different strikes of pandero. Cuica. Okay, that can be cool for maybe another layer, but for this beat, let's try broken jazz. There's a broken jazz preset here. Alright, this one's cool. Again, not waste a million years. Now, that beat I just did, I kind of like that tempo. So I can tap it here on this area of Reaper, where it says BPM. When you hover over it with the mouse, it says tap, and I can go. Yeah, looks like I'm 85. For some reason, I prefer odd numbers for tempo, so I'll use 86 instead. And I will use a metronome only as a reference right now to record a simple loop that I will use as my metronome, as my fancy metronome for the rest of my composition. So, record. Huh. That's weird. That's weird that it's playing a beat already, considering. Alright, here. Press stop. stop, and then the beat. It looks like there's some patterns in there already. It's a drum machine, not just a sample instrument. So wow, it's lots of vinyl hiss to stuff. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that last round I did sounded okay. So let's, oh, don't seem to be able to trim. Okay, let's just cut this off, and now we can trim. Let's hear that. How do I tell iSpark to not play at all? No sequence. Or I can change mode, right? I can change mode to maybe bank mode. No. Shit, I don't want it to play the pattern at all. Maybe I need to erase the patterns. Can I erase the patterns? Yeah, I just wanted it to respond to the MIDI that I'm sending it. I don't want it to start any beat. All right, so maybe what I can do is just press play, go back here, press stop, and now go back here and edit my MIDI. Alright, so there's a couple things to fix there before I can turn this into audio and keep going. One of them is definitely I think I need to quantize it. I want it to be very precise rhythmically, and Q quantizes. So, oh, and again I need to stop the sequence. Oh, that's annoying. If somebody is watching knows how to disable the pattern section of iSpark, of Spark, great. Please tell me. There's gotta be a way. Oh, erase. Erase, 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 erase. Or is that erasing? Is that erasing patterns, or is that erasing notes on the pattern? I don't know. Alright, whatever. We'll just press play and stop, and then go back into the editing. Oh, that's Alright, that quantized horribly, so why don't we undo that quantization? What happened? What the hell? Reaper seemed to have just quit on me. You kidding? Alright, let's open recent. And I didn't save it, so it's gonna open up blank. I'm gonna need to start all over again. So let's call this drum 1, and we'll load up that iSpark right there, AUI. And I was using the Broken Jazz preset. Oh no, you know what? Never mind that, because I did program a beat. So, but I don't know if it got saved. So it's okay, we'll do it again. Let's set the tempo. What do we have? 86, right? If I remember correctly. And right here in library, in kit, we had chosen broken jazz. Okay, and now project sequencer. Here we go. I think we can just delete all these notes on the sequencer, and it'll just respond to my MIDI rather than using this as. I really need to check out the manual. This is like the first time I'm actually using iSpark, which Arturia were so gracious to have given me to try out and share with people what I learned. So okay, so let's go back. Yeah, I noticed the Reaper quit. Let's say this is lots of Command S. Okay, every time I do something significant, I'll Command S it. That way. All right. So now we're gonna choose again the Roger Linn instrument as. Let's open this up a little bit so we can see. It looks like nobody's watching yet. Or if you are, please say hi. Somebody come in the chat and say hi, Kinkas. It looks like it's freezing a lot, doesn't it? Oh boy. This may be not the most successful live stream I've done because of slow internet. It's my friend Paulina saying something. Okay, she's saying that the audio doesn't cut out, it's just a little bit soft. I could make it louder. Maybe, is that better? I turned it up on my Steinberg interface that's sending into let me ask her. Okay, so that should sound a little louder, maybe even more. That's too much. Okay, so set it to record, set monitoring on. Oh, that's super loud. So let's turn that down a little bit. Okay, so let's try again. And metronome is on. Sorry about this. Usually this part is quick. Okay. So yeah, it worked. I deleted the pattern, and that made me not have to be stopping the pattern that was going on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually quantize this thing because I don't want it to quantize weird. So I'm going to manually quantize it, and as I do so, we can also see that the hi-hat sometimes is a little too loud. So I can also edit the velocity, right? And we do want kicks and snares to sound loud. The hi-hats not so much. That sounds like so far. Alright, it's in there. I'll be quick, I promise. So let's turn the kick up here. You know what? Why don't we turn all of the kicks up at once? You know, not like that. Like that. we can bring all of their velocities up to 127 and then bring them all down to about 109. And we can do the same with all of the snares. Let's just select all of the snares and make them all nice and loud. Right? And then we can make them not so loud. And we can take the hi-hats. And now the hi-hats would be nice to have some variance, but that's why I don't like the instrument, the velocity. When you use it like quickly for percussion, it's a little erratic. It doesn't work as well as normal drum pads or keys. So now that's interesting. It seems like even though I've changed the velocity, some of the hi-hats are sounding really loud. There may be a compressor on the iSpark. Yep, pretty sure there's a compressor on the Spark. We need to finish quantizing first anyway before we do anything else. Gracias, Paulina, por ayudarme. I know this is super boring right now. If you're watching in the future, feel free to like skip ahead. I'm just getting back into the hang of live streaming. It's a different thing to just compose versus compose with an audience, right? I like having an audience because you guys help me stay focused. I don't procrastinate if I know that the world is watching. I'm less likely to go goof off on Facebook or whatnot. So, all right. So let's make a loop of this, and I'll turn on the little magnet here so that it cuts on the grid, and we can move this to the beginning here. I'll select on my timeline here the 2 bars, and then I'll set to loop on this little dot here, and I'll go back to the beginning with the W key on Reaper. It goes back to the beginning, and I can turn off the metronome and go into the app and see mixer. Yeah, there's a compressor and the master here. And this is it. So let's turn it off. No, it did sound good with the compressor. What I can do is just turn down the hi-hat. Alright, this will do for now. Again, remember, this is just a fancy metronome. I don't want to waste too much time with it, especially because I might not even end up using it. In fact, I'm going to turn it into audio. And there are ways to do that, many ways. I usually like to route the audio to a new track and record it because I don't super trust the freeze functions on Reaper. But again, like I said, I want to be quick with this, so I'm just going to freeze it. So there's render freeze tracks here. Let's render tracks to stereo stem tracks, or I can just freeze track to mono or stereo. And now let's render to stereo stem track. Okay, so here it is. Now I can like even hide this guy or delete it or whatnot. Let's first listen to what the audio sounds like up there. Alright, that's good enough for now. I'll delete the original, and I'm going to loop by just duplicating. Command D, just like in Pro Tools. With Reaper, you can Command D, and just make sure that your selection is precisely 4 bars long or whatever, but it is precise. Otherwise, as you duplicate it, you'll start multiplying the error, and things will go off sync. And if you want things to be in sync, then you will have a problem. Okay. So let me just turn this ruler up here to minutes and seconds to have an idea of how long. Oh, that's too long. That's too long. I don't need this to be longer than like 5 minutes. So why don't I just weird, it's not letting me. There you go. Let's make it a little bit longer than 5 minutes, because then I can have ideas freely, not worry about it running out. Okay, let's go back to the beginning again, and now I'll set up a track for my bass. And again, I just double click here as I choose input number 5, set it to record. I don't need to monitor it because I'm monitoring it directly from the interface without latency, so I'm not going to use the track monitoring here, input monitoring. And I'll call this bass, right? And there it is, coming in. Awesome. So let's unsolo, and let's see what kind of bass lines I'll come up with. I'm probably gonna try to come up with one main bass line and a B section, and maybe a third section that could be a breakdown or something like that. And then I can work on setting up a form by editing my ideas with the bass. So let's go. Okay, so here's the thing. I hate the beat. I think I should have just stuck with a regular metronome. So let's turn off that beat. It's just distracting. It's got the wrong subdivision anyway. I think I'm swinging and I quantize it straight. So, oh, everybody's looking at my Facebook, aren't you? Let's change that to the... here's Lima Sound Project is asking me in Portuguese. Essa música vai ser para o YouTube. Lima Sound Project, eu espero que sim. I hope so. I will show this to them once I have 10 songs written, and if they love them, they may buy them. If they don't, I will probably try to shop it to a different library, which I haven't had to do so far for the last 3 years. They've been very good about buying up everything I make. So yeah, it's probably for YouTube. Provavelmente vai ser para o YouTube. Espero que sim. Okay, so now I like that bass line. I'm not gonna waste a lot of time doing a million takes. Let's just accept that idea and here I did a variation on the first riff, right, which is the ding 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 ding. So the tonic fifth and octave. So it's so already that's pretty cool form-wise. I establish one theme, one riff, and then I do a slight variation on that riff as sort of a build-up, and then before going into a B section. So let's listen to it after that. And even put the bass down because I think I'm done with it. Okay, I'm just gonna mark the beginning of my B section here because it might not be the best version that I've done of a B section, so this is where it needs to go, but it might be a further take. I like how it goes right into it. Yeah, see this? Yeah, I missed that first hit right here. That's a nice little slide, right? And go back to the X section. Okay, now that was a short version of the B section. I like it longer, so I'll probably duplicate it, but it might have been better performed than the first one. And this is what I came up with for the breakdown, but I kind of got it wrong at first. So no. Here we go. So these two hits right here turned out good. So why don't I just use these two as my C section, so to speak. I'm not talking about a Caesarean section, you know what I mean. Anyway, so the B section over here, I think this is the good B section right here. Okay, so yeah, I like this B section. I want it to be twice as long. So there it goes. And now where I have the other B section, yeah, I don't like that as much. So we're going to erase it and I'm going to replace it with what I just copied, which is those two, this B section over here. So what we have is an A section 2, so to speak, B section. Then we have an A section that's half as long, meaning it doesn't have the 2, and it goes back to the B section over here. All right. Now, this is the C section, but it's too early to go into the C section. Let's take a look at the minutes again. So, yeah, we're not even at 2 minutes yet. Actually, that's pretty long. Well, considering there's half a bar here or 1 bar here intro. Now that intro could be some sort of effect, some sort of fill anyway, so it could be part of the song. So I'm not ruling out that that this is the actual. So why don't we go to the B section here, the C section here? It's already pretty long. I was under the impression that it was. And we can just duplicate this maybe 4 times. That's another thing. This kind of music, usually it works in blocks of 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, that kind of thing. So serve the expectations you create and subvert them sometimes. That's the key. Have that balance between predictability and surprise. Now we can duplicate the whole form again. And we have how long is the song now? Yeah, we have a long song. We have a long song that's 4 minutes, 20 seconds long. That's long enough. Hold on, I think somebody's... ¿Alguien me ayuda porque estoy grabando? ¿Me puedes ayudar? No la aguanto, está dormida yo creo. Está dormida, ¿verdad? Yo creo que la despierta. Sorry about that. Apparently my daughter has come home and my help was required, but they will have to understand that I'm live streaming at the moment. Here we go. Now we have to clean up the transitions, because they will often have like clicks and things. What I'll do is I'll just jump to each transition and create crossfades. Create crossfades and just clean them up. Nice and good. Go. Make sure you don't lose any transients, any strong attacks when you do that. This looks like it's almost how it should be. Okay. You can do too is just cut off the end of something and make a short little fade in to the next one. Same here. Probably even cut off that silence there, because that's just basically noise. But don't worry about that later. Let's just make sure it's clean. Yeah, I'm not even getting any clicks on there, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now back here, yeah, that's cutting off a little bit, so let's just create a little crossfade. Yeah, I should have done that before duplicating, because now I have to do the work twice. It's okay though, because if I did this before duplicating, I might have duplicated it with an error, because when you do these crossfades, your edits are no longer right smack on bar divisions, and so yeah, kind of need to do it like this. But yeah, already we have a structure that might not be the end structure, the final structure of the song. But it's a structure that we can start working with, and a length that works for what we're doing. I'm writing a full song, like a feature song, like a single or something. So it should be about 3 minutes. So 4 minutes and 20 is okay. It's a nice length for a funky tune like this. Kind of slower tempo tunes, in my experience, tend to work well a little bit longer. Like something's really fast, you might want it to be a short song. Like punk music seems to be really short, right? So there we go. Okay, so I think I need to record a beat now because the bass is not super metronomically precise. So if I start stacking things there and there are timing mistakes, they will compound with each new layer. But if I record some drums now, that'll help me make sure that the rhythmic element is very solid, and then I can add layers without worrying about having too much to fix later. So the way I'm going to do this time is I'm going to record just hi-hat and snare for now, because that's going to give me the subdivision and the clack, and then I can either record a acoustic kick drum or even an electronic kick drum, or a sampled kick drum will work well, and you'll still have that feel of the live played, human played hi-hat snare. Hola Nina, ven me abrazar. Say hi to the people of the world that are watching me work right now. How was your day at school?
Good.
Yes? What did you do?
Don't remember.
You don't remember. Did you fall asleep in the car? Yeah? Okay. I have to continue my work now. Okay? I'll be with you shortly. You want milk? Ask mommy or Tia Mari for milk. Okay. Then you need to eat some. Ain't she cute? So here's my snare drum. Here's my snare drum stand. Hi-hats. Okay, now I'm going to set up a microphone for the snare, and the hi-hat I will probably pick up with the very Blueberry microphone that we're using for my voice. And here we go. This is the AKG D5. It's a vocal mic, it's a dynamic mic, but it will probably sound really nice on the snare. We're gonna find that out soon enough. And I sort of aim it at the rim of the snare, which is where the sound mostly radiates from. I'll plug it into my input number 4 on my Focusrite interface. Lots of knots on my cable. The last person that coiled this cable didn't use the right method, which is, how do they call it? In and out? Outside, inside. It's got like a special name. The idea is you coil the cable in a way that when you throw it, it doesn't make any knots. So there it is, that's plugged in. Let's set up 2 channels here on the interface. One for the one for each thing. So we'll call this snare, and it'll be input 4. And we'll call this hats, and it'll be input 3. Now, I'll have to turn down the gain on this microphone because these are high pressure instruments, of course. There we go. Turning down input 3. Headphones. Turn down the monitor. Okay. So that was kind of horribly performed. So I'm thinking now if I should. The ideas are okay, and I think there are enough good bars that I can edit and loop things, or I can maybe try to just do a better take altogether. One of the problems was I barely heard the metronome, so I was basically going along with the bass. The metronome would have helped. So, and also for this beat, not using the bass drum was maybe a mistake because it really throws me off to not hear that kick, and not play it. But so I'm thinking, should I put the kick on, mic it up, and try another take? I think, or I can also do a separate takes, and that makes editing a lot easier. So I can do just the hi hat and then the snare separately. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep this take, right? So I just push it forward so I can, it's there, it's visible, I don't forget about it if I want to use it. And I'm going to try what I just said. I'm going to try just a hi-hats take. And I'm going to try to turn, I'm going to turn the bass down and the headphone amp up so that I hear more of the metronome. And then I can be more precise with my hi-hat playing, not worry so much about the snare, and then I can play some snare. Stevie Wonder used to do this, so it's not cheating. Play one instrument at a time. You get wonderful separation, both for editing and mixing. It's like a dream come true for the engineer. Okay, okay. Okay. All right, so we're back to hearing my voice as loud as it can without feedback. Okay, so that was horrible. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm embarrassed. But since it was all recorded with complete separation, that basically means I can edit it to my heart's content, which honestly I think would be super boring for you guys to watch. But so I'll just start it, okay? I'll start the edit, and I'll probably end the live stream early today, considering this is mostly an exercise. Now here's something about Reaper. It doesn't really have a beat detective like in Pro Tools, for example, which is fine because I think beat detective kind of destroys things anyway. So the way I like to do it is just sort of create these cuts right on the grid. So let's just do it for the beginning of the hi-hat here. And we'll do it until the end of the A sections. And that's just the S key for split on Reaper. All right, so that's enough for now real quick. So here's the metronome. Let's turn, oh, that's the snare. Okay, we want to do the same with the hi-hats too. I should have grouped them and had them go together, right? The reason I do this is because so I can move each section independently without moving everything ahead, everything that comes after what I'm editing. if this had a warp like Pro Tools has, then you wouldn't have that problem. It kind of does this automatically for you. It detects the transients and stuff. There's kind of ways to do this on Reaper. You can split by transient, for example, and then you can quantize, and then you can crossfade. But I just like doing it by hand. Now I need to bring this back to bars and beats, right? Measures and beats. And I need to change our grid setting to 16th note, so we really see the division here. As we zoom in, you can see, for example, this is nice right here, but these guys are rushed. So I can move this like this, and then move this like this, and maybe move this like this. Now, of course, check how it's sounding all the time. Yep. See, another thing I can do is holding the shift key and using the up button, I can zoom vertically so that I can see even the smaller transients. And now as I cut and edit, this guy, for example, should be here. This should be here, and then we can move the trim and make a crossfade. It takes a little getting used to the manual editing, but it does sound a lot better than most warping edits that I've seen. And then you might be thinking, but Qincus, wasn't the whole point of recording drums to have a human, the human element of mistake? And my response to that is absolutely. And it won't be gone because I'm editing this. Basically, I'm changing it so that it sounds like a good trained drummer, not a hack like me. Right? A good drummer will be nearly metronomical. Mostly it's about the dynamics and the timbre. That's what's really gonna change dynamically and sound very human-like. But the rhythmic, in this case, since this is straight, I do want it to be nearly metronomical. Let's hear with the bass. See? So yeah, I definitely want to do this. It's going to take me a little while. It's going to be a little bit of work, but it'll be worth it in the end. So I'm just going to do this for the beginning of it, so that you people can see how I go about it, and then I'll probably do this privately with the live stream off. 2 notes, for example. I think I need to see. No, this is more like a grace note, kind of a trill thing. So we can just leave it. We don't need to edit everything. You know what I mean? So as you can see, it's kind of a 3-step process. Each edit. First, I cut. Then holding the Option key, I can move the entire audio underneath the edits, and then I created a little crossfade, but backwards, so I don't lose the transient. Now, here, for example, I also need to extend the because sometimes when I move things, you get like the sound starting early and then hitting again, so you need to cover it up with some silence. So yeah, that looks good. These look bad. So this one looks perfect, but these look bad. So let's cut all 3. Now you see, as I move this one backwards, you get a duplicate of this one. So you have to move the point in which the regions are changing and then create a crossfade. Here's the opposite. So let's create another edit point here. So we can move this one to precisely where it should go. Then we move the edit point and create a little crossfade. So now I will, if I notice that I'm making this too sterile and too metronomical, and it needs to be a little more swung, a little more human, then I will change my approach. But for now, I think this is sounding nice. It doesn't sound any less human. It just sounds like a precise human. It's a mistake to think that sloppy is human. Good human drummers are not sloppy. They're very precise people. They're nearly metronomical. So when you edit something that was played by someone like me who's out of practice on the drum set, you do want it to be, you do want to clean it up. And it's still going to sound human because it's still, you know, an actual human hand holding a stick, hitting the instrument, and the timbre will vary with different stick angles and how strong you hit it and all that. The dynamics will definitely reflect my intentions as well, where I put my accents and stuff. So all of that I like about my playing. I like my ideas. I just don't like my execution so much because it's sloppy. So that's what I'm fixing. Now look at these. These are nearly perfect, these 3 hits. They were just a little bit off altogether, so I just moved them together. Now, yeah, see what's happening here too is that I'm warming up. My guess is that further into the take, there will be less to fix, quite likely. Yeah, these look good already, see? I started real sloppy and I began to clean up my technique, but there's still some notes that will always be a little bit off. So let's clean them up. Right, and it's kind of tedious work, but it's almost like a video game. Like pretend like you're playing Tetris or something, you know? And the end result, instead of a high score, is a really killer track that you can get paid for. So yeah, it's better than Tetris, actually. You just have to be methodical about it and make sure you're thorough, and you clean up all of your transitions ahead of time. Otherwise, you're gonna be like listening for clicks and doing this later, and you don't want to stack up too much work to be done during edit and mix down. So the idea here is to fix each element as you go. Now let's go up to here. I'm gonna put a marker right there so I know up to where I went. So you got an idea of what I did here with the hats. Now let's do the same with the snare. It should be quicker because there are fewer hits of the snare. In fact, the snare might even be worth doing the quantized thing, but I don't know. Also, some of my snare hits were off, so that we'll notice as we're listening. I didn't have my snare set up at the best angle ever, to be honest. It was a little bit awkward to play. I should have fixed that before continuing, but whatever. I know I'm gonna edit anyway. So there are some hits that sounded great, and I can use those to replace the ones that didn't sound great. So, and that's still different than using just one sample, because you still get variation, and that variation makes a big difference. It tricks the brain. Well, it tells the brain that a real person played this. Not tricks it, because I am an actual person who played this. I just happen to edit my execution to make it sound like I'm a good drummer. Now, why didn't I hire a drummer? Now, that's a good question. If this wasn't something I'm doing completely out of my own initiative, meaning if I had money and a good drummer nearby who was available and wasn't doing a million things, then I would probably like to have somebody come over and play these for me. But also, I am a composer, so this is part of me composing. I'm creating the drum beat, and I'm creating the drum sound. I tune the drums the way I want it, and editing is part of the composition process too, just like editing MIDI. So this is it's part of what I do. See, this hi-hat right here is a little off. Didn't fix it well enough before. Sometimes it's a matter of zooming in. If you don't zoom in enough, it might be off. See, but it's only a little bit off is okay. Again, we don't need it to be like 100% mechanically perfect. Close enough is close enough. Close enough is good enough. Let's put it that way. What you do want is for the hi-hat and the snare to coincide, right? Unless you're going for a flam sort of effect in a certain section, which could work too. It could be what you want. All of that you need to decide as the composer. Yeah, there's a little fill here, so cool. Let's just make it very precise, like a good drummer. There you go. Oh, yeah, here's the case where the hi-hat's actually a little off. Oops. Undo that. Where is that? Yeah, I'm past where I had marked it. That's why the hi-hat was off. Should I continue? Is anybody even watching? Am I all alone here thinking that I'm talking to somebody? If there's somebody watching, say something. Give me something in the chat there. Yeah, why don't I go all the way to the B-side? Oh, that would be twice as long as I've done so far. All right, let's listen. Let's listen to the bass, snare, and hi-hat and see if it's sounding too mechanical, too trite. And then I know if I can continue the course I'm taking or if I should change it somehow. It's okay. I mean, there is an implied swing to the way that I play the bass, but it kind of plays off the straight drums nicely, especially since I'm sort of emphasizing upbeats that I'm not playing on the bass. So I think I can continue like this. Now I'd like to experiment with this section right here. Just have a kick drum there, just to hear what it sounds like with a kick. Now, what kind of kick am I going to use? Well, I can use an electronic kick that I design myself. So this is where I would like to have another camera so that you people could see how I design the kick. But basically, I'll describe it. I'm going to use a filter and self-oscillation, audio rate self-oscillation to do a nice sine wave. And then I'm going to use a slope generator to create a downgoing ramp, which will affect both pitch and amplitude, and that'll be my kick. Simple as that. So basically it's like a nice low sine wave that starts high and goes low and starts loud and goes soft. I may use the same envelope generator for both amplitude and pitch, or I may use two envelope generators. We'll see. So I need I'll connect my filter 8 to a VCA audio input here. We'll take that audio output to my output module, the Befaco output module, and we'll split. Use a different splitter just so I can keep the. I want to keep the envelope filter patch I made earlier in case I want to use it for guitar or piano. So I took a splitter here, and what I'm doing is I'm going to split the envelope output, which is the Contour 1. I'm using the Contour 1 by Joe Analog as well. And I'm going to send it both to the CV output input here on my envelope generator as well as the FM input on the filter 8. And as I trigger it, already you can hear something. Let's set input 5 here on my kick. Alright, now we just need to lower. Alright, so yeah, I think I definitely want a separate envelope generator for the VCA. The VCA needs to go longer than the pitch one. So what I'll do is I'll take the rise gate from the Contour, because that will respond immediately as soon as I press the Contour 1 button, and we'll use that to trigger the other envelope generator, which is actually hold on. So the out is going to the pitch here. So something interesting is happening. Yeah, maybe. Oh. It's not quite working like I wanted to. This part, sound design, does take a little longer. I wish I could be showing you this. That's getting there. A little louder, I think. Number 5 here. Let's record that. Okay. So let me quantize it. I want it to be pumping. Item processing, normalize items, boom. And we can cut it, trim it precisely. It's beginning here. And to make it simple, let's just synchronize it to make it 4 on the floor for now. So boom. Alright, so I'm just gonna make it like this long and then duplicate it. and let's listen to that. So yeah, that's starting to take shape, starting to sound nice. Once I have all of the rhythm fixed up, all the way to the end, what I'll probably do is record some cymbals. Like I'll do a ride cymbal for the B section maybe, and also some crashes for some transitions. And that'll be the foundation of the song. We'll have bass and drums, real nice, real tight, with sounding really good, with perfect separation for the mix. Hey, Gate Scarlata says, hello friend, I'm glad to say hello. I want to tell you that I like your music and I put it in several of my videos. I also say the name of the author always and on the subject. Thank you very much. That makes me feel great. That's why I do this. I love it when people use my songs for their videos. It makes me very happy that I can contribute in that way. So thank you very much, Gata Escarlata. Anyway, I think I'm gonna take a break now. I started really late. Normally I would do the whole song on one live stream, like a 3-4 hour live stream. But I had some technical difficulties today and I ended up starting very late. And now my girls are back from school and they're probably eager to see me. And also it'll be really boring to watch me just continue all of this editing for the entire song. So I'll probably do that just offline, and I'll come back tomorrow to continue. So maybe I'll add those cymbals tomorrow with everybody watching, and I'll add some guitar and some electric piano and maybe some synthesizers and some ear candy, maybe a little bit of horns. You know, I play trombone, but I also have some nice simulated horns that I can use. Maybe do a solo of some kind. And see what else comes up. If anybody has an idea that they think I should think about for this song, that would be cool, let me know. And anyway, thank you very much for everybody who joined me today. And I'm just getting back into the swing of live casting. And yeah, I'm probably going to figure out some way to have a webcam that I can focus on whatever instrument that I'm playing, so that you can see me, like sound design and whatnot. So again, thank you all very much, and I'm going to interrupt the live stream now. How do I do it?